Wessex Blades new wall in the garage, except no, it's my ceiling. Anyway, moving on. Ferro rods today. Doing a couple of little billets here. Got everything squared up on the 2x72, so got a false platen there, so I can allow hardly any gap between that work surface there and the belt. So I've just got something clamped on there just to get you a bit closer, so you don't end up with anything disappearing down inside. Getting it squared up. Hole for the ferro rod, hole for the lanyard hole, maybe an accent pin on this bigger one as well. That was just having a lanyard pin and a ferro rod. And off we go. The little thing I always try and do now for ferro rods is, rather than have hard, murder hard G10 down the centre of the billet, I put something more forgiving down through the centre that allows the 4mm pilot, and then the actual 8mm drill that goes down through for the ferro rod, by having something that's around about 3mm, so be a fillet of yew or a fillet of beech or a piece of oak or something down the middle. That it keeps the drill central, and it'll be rattling off the hard G10 on the way through. If you put G10 down the middle, there's a possibility it'll want to deflect because G10 is really hard. So that at the moment, that has a lever fillet. It's one of the sort of things I've come up and had an idea with, and it seems to be working out very well for me, not having a hard center to when I do custom ferro rods. I have something forgiving between two harder pieces of material, some resistant material. G10, however, allows the drill to stay in the middle by having something softer there. So easy getting squared up, and here we go. Pretty central. The pilot hole going quite happily down through the lever and skipping in between the G10 as it goes through. It's got a pilot hole. Now once I've drilled that, I'm going to use the engineer square to run a line up over the top of that hole to give me a line across there for where the lanyard hole and maybe an accent pin is going to be. So along the lines of sort of like that, with a bit of a scribe. So MP Custom Nice work scribe. Yeah, that's pretty much in the middle. Right now, using the V section of the thing where you could hold a cylinder, that's where I'm going to be drilling, so I know where it's going to be, about there. Lifting that up a little. It will go up and down because the 8mm I'm going to use in a minute will be a lot longer than this one. Yep, I like that. straight. Also slightly different on the back, but that's the way it goes. So that one stays as it is. I think it's about 5.05. That one is a fraction drill, and this will be 8, and that'll be 8. Hopefully that'll be about right. Come on, Clark, play the game. I think I'll have to epoxy that in there, right? No, I'll figure it out. And then really clamp it. I think I'll move it down again. Okay, that's the one. Let's just say drawback of custom stuff setups. So if this was a production, I'd have 10 pieces all the same. I'd have 10 all drilled one way, 10 all drilled another, 10 all piloted through, 10 all drilled large. But everything's different because this is one-offs. That cold hands, gosh, it's freezing in here. And that is pretty central. Pretty central. And the holes there for the lanyard and the accent pin. You have a little trick I'd like to do now. If the the tip of the start of the drill is just entering where the accent pin goes. But if it hadn't, I'd have run a 2.5, 3 mil down through. 2 reasons. One, it allows the glue to meet one way or the other and allows just air. Plus also the, as I say, the ferro rod, if you add it in the bottom and it bottomed out, there's nowhere for the bubble of air to go, and you just crush it in and eventually it bicycle pumps itself back out again. So a little, tiny little hole at the bottom, or if there's a hole already, let it meet. Doesn't make much difference if there's a 2mm hole in there. It's going to get filled up with epoxy, and it's just somewhere for the air and the glue to go when you plunge the ferro rod in. But he's just through to the other side of the accent hole, so it's perfect. So that's that one. Let's get the other little piece. This one's going to be a bit awkward because I ain't got much room to work with on this tiny little ferro rod billet blank nugget. God, that's small. Through one, come on. Wow. Held together? Pretty much. Oh, pretty central. It's not the most square thing in the world, but pretty central for there, pretty central there. That's down to this being set up 90 degrees. Really checking. You get your engineer square. Don't trust that from factory or box, and you need it 90 degrees in every direction, so that never moves. That's the thing with doing taper tangs. You've got to move that 1.5 degrees each way when you do it because you've got your taper tang. I don't do taper tangs. I can leave that as it is. I haven't got to faddle around with it going back to 90. It's locked, finished. Every couple of months check it. Right, now the one that really, I'm going to hold it in the vise this way round. Just to hold it together. Keep it together, man! Just crunch it all together. So G10, G10, lever G10, G10. Position the thing on top. I just wonder if there's a way I can just, for the sake of security, I don't want to helicopter this bloody thing. Okay. So I'm using my clamp at the back there. Hold the drill vise down. I think that's alright. Looks pretty central. So I'm looking at the hole. I got the same amount of G10, G10 either side, and it looks pretty much in the middle. Looks pretty good. I shall sort that out on another day. Nice. So this one, I got a pillar drill in home, a bench drill in home. I use for doing the scales. When the scales go in, I drill loads of little tiny little pinholes on the back, and also I can just zoop a little 2.5, 3 mil hole through the bottom of there. So that's those done. Now what I need to do is key up these ferro rods. Whoa! Caught that. It's day of breakages today, so I've got that to epoxy. This should be on the tripod. There's the tripod. Aluminium tube. Steel mail thread. There's a sort of materials conflict going on there somewhere. Steel into aluminium thread. I'm sure there's a fault. There's something going to go wrong somewhere. So bodge, the bodge, the bodge. Not a knife. That's a knife. 8mm ferro rod blanks. Don't just glue them in. You need to give some rough key for the epoxy to get as good a bond as you can. Loki. Grippy bucket. Test each other. Awesome. So now, basically, I glue that in there. So what I need now is a couple of bits of brass lanyard for the lanyard hole, and one piece of 5mm brass bar all round for that accent pin. I may have it in my ready to go drawer, which is in here. Cut that in half, that'll be just right. There's a 5 ready to go. So, offcut straw does the business. I shall simply cut that in half on a bandsaw. Now, how I do that is I hold a big pair of pliers on that and a stick on this end. So you hold it and you push it. So it's not anywhere, no reliance on fingers. And then rough saw, bandsaw, those tooling marks, rough sawn edge. I'm going to tidy up on the belt sander. Chamfer it off just to allow it to go down the hole with there. Go and then glue it all up. So thanks for joining me again. So insight into ferro production, as explained on Saturday. Gratefully supported once again by Patreon. Hopefully you enjoyed the early access lever tooling. It was a thing I did for them, which will be up in the week for everybody else to catch up on. But this is the sort of behind the scenes blog sort of thing that I'm able to share with you my thoughts and ideas on how I do knife making bits and bobs around the workshop. Thanks John again, it's got my 6 blades aim. Fix that handle. And the tripod. Your roof, you're done.